All right. Scott, we're live.
Good morning and welcome to the Public Services and Facilities Committee meeting. It's 9 a.m. on Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, and I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. I think first thing on the agenda is citizens' comments. Do we have any?
No.
Okay, moving right along. Approval of the previous meeting's minutes.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that. All those, any comments or corrections or anything? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And for those of you watching, Katie Myers is dialed in to the meeting here. Marine attendants comments, I don't think we have any today. Presentations, none. On to old business, update and discussion of the Waterway Boulevard project. I guess, Douglas, would you like to?
Yeah, I'll give kind of high-level overview, and then Robert can fill in details. He's been kind of boots on the ground with that project. But we have received a change order from the Bastion Group. It results in a credit to the city. It's about a $32,000 credit at last. It hasn't been formally processed by Thomas and Hutton. The process of those will be they would come through Thomas and Hutton for review and a recommendation to us. As it stands now, it's a credit of about $32,000. Thomas and Hutton feels like the credit might not be quite enough, so they're going back and forth on the amount of the credit. The other part of that change order, though, is it's giving additional time. There has been a snafu with the DOT encroachment permit. The project had an encroachment permit when it went out to bid, and it really was once the project got started, the DOT indicated that the permitting was inadequate for the water and sewer conflicts. So they started a second permitting process with the DOT, which had the effect of stalling the contractor. So they are requesting 6 additional weeks. I think Thomas and Hutton feels like that's a warranted request. So that's also in this change order that's being processed now. That would put the completion date, which was planned for early July, puts the completion date closer to the middle of August for that project. They have indicated that any traffic, any work that would affect traffic would still be done within the original timeframe of pre-July. And the remaining of work would be off the shoulder of the road and not causing full traffic shutdowns. So that's still in the process. We're waiting on Thomas and Hutton for that, but we expect that to be coming shortly. Robert, in terms of detail, they're about 24th Avenue?
So they had the cart path removed from 21st all the way to 25th currently. The base material, the ROC is down from 21st to, I believe, about 23rd, 24th in there. They're doing the rough grading from that point to 25th. I believe that's where our delay was at 23rd with the conflict. I think it's the water line. So then we also had to go out to the field and they have to lower a box too because of where the conflict was. So there was a little changing in there. But they're moving along. You can see where the cart path is wide, full 8 feet, and then it tapers down to around oak trees and stuff. So it'll kind of give a visual to people that are going by to see what it's going to look like because so many people were concerned about the 8-foot width and how it changed.
They were ripping up right around 23rd, 24th yesterday when I went through there, ripping the side up and getting it ready to go.
Coming on the back side of closer to 25th when I saw them late afternoon.
Right. But when you say that it won't delay traffic, so they intend to get the width of the entire track from 21st to 41st done fairly quickly.
Well, no, actually the opposite. They're going to do drainage. So the drainage crossings of the road are the heavy impacts to traffic.
Okay.
They have to actually trench the road, remove the road, and So they're going to do that work first to kind of deal with the work that would cause them to need to close down lanes of traffic.
Okay.
Once that's done, they can continue with the path work, and that will be taking place, but it'll be off the shoulder of the road and allow traffic to continue to pass freely.
Yeah, if I might add, Murray, the contractor, they called me just to have police come down and just kind of direct traffic just in certain areas to keep the traffic moving. And it was just like a quick call. They came out, directed traffic, kept everything flowing. So I think when they're working really close to the right of way, that's what we'll do, is just kind of call them in, keep traffic going so they can keep moving without delays.
I don't know that I mentioned this, but we do now have both permits, so the timing challenge is, we're
Behind us,
behind
yeah.
that now.
Is there any possibility that we run into another conflict down the road, so to speak?
I think, with these things that, and it seems as though the location of water lines was
Yeah, that's
a
correct.
little bit deficient in the planning. The Water and Sewer Commissions had some staff turnover. So there have been, I think twice, we've
Yes.
identified water lines that we were unaware of. So, yes, I suspect that there will be some other unidentified conflicts, and we've just had to work around those.
But we can work around, we don't need to get another permit, right?
No, that's
Okay,
correct. Yeah, that is correct. We're shifting, we generally are shifting our stormwater infrastructure to deal with the conflicts as they come up. But inevitably, something else, I mean, if they're to 25th, they're 4 blocks of a 20-block project, and we've had 2 different conflicts in those first 4 blocks. So I suspect there will be more to come. I think there's only 2 more major drainage. I mean, it's always the drainage that is where you find.
Can Chris and his team kind of reconfirm what they provided to make sure it's accurate, or is that,
Yeah, I don't
is that a
know
way to
if-
get in front of it maybe, or?
I
Yeah,
know they've been in communications with Water and Sewer throughout this. Bill Jenkins has been down on site when they've located, that's what's happening. The mains are exactly where we were supposed to be laying the pipe versus being over to the left or the right, whatever the situation was.
yeah, I'm not positive if they've looked down for the next, 30, there's pipes at 32nd. I don't know if they've looked down that far to
Yeah,
see if they have a. but
I
we'll-
can double check. with
Yeah.
them.
Just maybe they can
Yeah.
reconfirm that everything's, maybe report back at the next meeting or something, that they said everything's okay or something.
I know we're working around the tree issue and all, but are there going to be fences and encroachments like that that have to be removed?
Not that I'm aware of.
There's
I
some
do know
look
that.
awfully close, but
Yeah, I do
don't-
know that they've had to taper the path down from 8 feet in just only a handful of spaces where they had to get around trees. I think there's one place where it actually goes around trees.
Yeah, that's where they were working yesterday. That was getting tight. So that is I'm not familiar with the address, but the big home on the intercoastal, which is most of them. They're making their way around the big oak tree, which is getting really tight. And then also the only things we've seen is that, residents have had their irrigation in the right of way. So a lot of irrigation's been getting pulled up yesterday,
Right.
especially, you see, but it is in the right of way. So I don't know if we'll get any complaints about that, but that's the only thing that I've seen that.
That
so
area they're
far-
working in yesterday is also the area where the tornado came through a couple of years ago. and there's
Exactly. Yeah,
Oak
exactly.
stumps there.
Yeah.
I guess that will be removed at some point.
Yeah, I do know down the way in the 3,000-ish block, there's a lot of retaining walls. There's a berm there and I do remember meeting with those owners. Those walls were okay, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have some minor conflicts come up. But I'm unaware of any major conflicts with people's equipment or fences in the right of way. Anything else on that?
I think that's good.
Okay, moving on to B, update and discussion of beach projects.
the city has now executed the escrow agreement with the community association. We have a contract with Marinex that is under review by our legal team and Marinex's legal team, preparing that for execution. We are, and I'm going to let Sean go through some details on the easements and the progress made there. Wild Dunes is making arrangements with Deborah to wire the money required by the escrow agreement. We expect that to happen either very end of this week, beginning of next week. And then we're kind of trying to get everything prepared for council to consider the new information on the south end at a meeting on the 22nd. So we're having, and Sean, you want to just give an update on our status with easements?
Yeah, so the top number is 140. So of the 140 total easements required, we currently have 135 either in hand or in transit. By reaches, for Reach 3, which is the southern end, we still need 5 easements. Those easements that are still out there touch the 100, 400, 700, 800, and 1100 blocks. And of all the easements in Reach 3, 10 of them are still in transit. I'll talk about those in just a moment. Reaches 1 and 2, that's the Wild Dunes area. We're 100% for the easements either in hand or in transit. 3 are what are actually in transit. So we contacted all those owners yesterday and just said, hey, look, we haven't received it yet. If we need to redo it, it's no problem. We can email you one, we can mail you one. So we're working to get those in hand.
You contacted all the in-transits or just the ones up at Wild?
Just on Wild Dunes. We're starting on the southern end today. The current actions by the staff is we're reaching out to those in transit, as I just mentioned. For the last 5 easements, each of those owners have been contacted within the past several days, and they're essentially, I would basically describe them as deliberating on what they're going to do. So it's hard to make an assessment of which way they'll go on those or not. But they're all tracking the urgency of the request and understand the timeline, and that we're trying to get this done immediately so we can update council. That's where we are right now.
Yeah, and I would just add on, I mentioned that this is for council to consider on Tuesday. Internally, we have set a deadline, the second deadline for these remaining 5, to have a decision to us by Friday of this week, so that we can report to council on Tuesday.
Just a couple of other quick things on beach. I think, Douglas, I'd sent you some information about the cleanup on the south end. Has there been any, looks like a lot of that mud and sludge has kind of recurred.
Yes.
Up on the
Yeah,
spit
we're-
back up there, and is the Army Corps looking at that, or?
Yes, we have not had an indication of whether they're willing to come back out. But to your point, I do think as the erosion kind of scours around those mud pockets, they're going to continue to show up occasionally. So once we know whether the Army Corps is willing to clean those up, I think we'll need to have a discussion with council if council is willing to engage a contractor to deal with that periodically.
Okay. And then, Sean, I guess this was a while back, there was some mention of having a postmortem meeting with the Army Corps as to the whole project, and just kind of wondering, if that's on participants, and can we maybe have some conversation about kind of, I think that's a great idea. I think it would be beneficial for everybody, and those are real positive exercises. But this has been going on for a couple of years, and I think that that would be a really, I think, positive, especially if we want to consider future projects, how we can go about them, what worked, what didn't, what would we do differently, et cetera.
Yeah, they have that set for the 7th at 10 o'clock. So they've invited a few of the staff and the mayor. And what I can do is send out an email and solicit feedback from the council members that you'd like us to carry forward.
Anybody else participating, like Foth Olson or Steve? I mean, if this is going to impact the future of of our projects, and anybody from maybe the beach committee, like a Dietmar or something, I think it would be helpful to get you know, maybe open up that participation a little bit. And is there an agenda or a structure to that meeting?
Yeah, they have an agenda, they have a structure.
Is that here at the city hall, or?
That is going to be at their headquarters over by the Citadel.
Yeah, if you could get some information out about that, I think that there might be some others that would be interested in participating.
Okay.
I can't see the participants on my invite. I don't know if you can, but, I mean, just for
Not
clarity, this
I'm not
is,
talking about a wild,
this
you
is
know,
their
participating,
meeting. Yeah,
but
we're not in charge of this meeting. We've been invited to attend, and we're happy to have that invite, but we don't control, you know, it's their agenda, it's their, request, but happy to solicit feedback. And I can't see, I do know
I
that
have
they.
it here. I have the-
Is it, I think it was Sullivan's Island.
It's basically Sullivan's Island. I think Nicole Elkos, who you were referencing a moment ago, she's invited on here, and then there's some other folks. Looks like most of them are from the Corps. So these are all Corps people. Yeah, so you have Henderson from Sullivan's Island.
Stephen is, yeah, so from the city, it appears to be Sean, myself, Stephen,
The mayor.
and Mayor.
And I'd just like to add on with Army Corps and OTNA, I had 2 meetings with them down at Breach Inlet where they were having all the staging done to make sure that Breach Inlet went back to the way it was. There was some boulders that they had to move right at the bridge that I had them put back for protection. Just a general cleanup down there. They had to put the parking bumpers back. So I was down there, okayed everything, and it's back to normal. Police put barricades so people can't drive down to the beach now because everything is wide open. But the original parking spots and the additional SCDOT parking spots are all accessible to the public, but it's all back to normal now.
Okay. Yeah, if you can send that information, I think that'd be helpful. And if this meeting is, their meeting, you know, depending upon, it's again, short notice and wasn't aware of the meeting occurring, but, you know, perhaps this meeting takes place, and I don't know if we can get any other participants in the meeting. But maybe we have our own postmortem that we perform on it as well. I think it would be useful for the project to kind of go through it, so.
Are we going to have a city communication on the reopening of the lot down there? Have we put anything out on that?
We certainly could.
It's ready now.
Yeah, we could do
This just
that.
happened last week.
Be good to just
that
let
it
people know.
actually-
They've been so accustomed to it being closed for
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah. Yeah, we had talked a little bit about the fact that we have another project coming up, but we've been talking to Marinex about using a different access, just to give a little bit of a break to the owners in that area who've had construction for a couple of years.
Hey, Sean, just one last thing on that meeting. Is there going to be an output document or about what was discussed or what the conclusions are of that postmortem?
That would be up to the Corps. I'm assuming they'll do something. I will ask Jacob to meet him.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Scott, anything, I mean, knowing that it's in 2 days, so for us, I mean, I think it's goes almost without saying that the mud has been a problem, that the timing, that OTNA, the timing was a problem, and I think it was equally as big a problem, if not more of a problem, for the Army Corps. So, are there any other things that just kind of jump to your mind in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, I would go to just the general postmortem process where you go back to the, November meeting 2-3 years ago and look at what was the original intention. There were presentations, commitments, et cetera, that were made during that meeting, all well-intended. No, by the way, and, I'm all for if we can get good quality sand on the beach in the Army Corps, I think it could be a great part of our feather into our beach management plan. But a lot occurred or didn't occur during the course of that 2-year-plus period with the disruption, the intended expectations, the swap of the ordering, had issues with one of the suppliers. We've got a mess still on our beach. I mean, we got more sand. So to me, that postmortem process is very structured, it's very transparent, and it's very objective. And, I think we can all benefit if we actually kind of went through that and talked about it. It's more than just one either issue or the other side of that's opportunity. There might be some more opportunity that we haven't explored. So, I just think those are very, very productive and constructive meetings if done properly with the right people in the meeting. The people that we've got there, if they're hosting it, then, I just wish we'd have known more about it so that we could have kind of prepared. I don't know that this is going to satisfy what I would consider a traditional and true postmortem. Well,
to your point, maybe our postmortem, maybe we do our own and provide,
Yeah.
some kind of policy or recommendations back. I do.
And it may be too late, but if, Folth Olson, they're kind of doing the future project, the future view, for them not to be at this meeting, to me, is a bit of a hole. Maybe somebody from the beach committee, like a Dietmar, will have one representative, maybe Katie Myers from the beach committee here. Though those would have been attendees that I would have thought might have been considered for a meeting such as this, so.
Well, again,
It's hindsight.
Yeah, it's their meeting, so we wouldn't have had that, that wouldn't be our judgment. But I do think, and I guess would be a question for the group, they have indicated to us that going forward, that they do not kind of in our, any time in the near term, expect to do another holding site evacuation, whatever they called removing the material from the spoils. I think they are, I think they're going to learn from this, but I don't think that is a project they're anticipating doing again anytime soon, because they're empty, and I think I've heard they have 20 to 30 years of capacity there. So I do think, I mean, I
That's
guess.
beyond our cycle there.
Yeah. So, and I don't know that we would, I think our feedback for that project could very well benefit a different community if they have this situation elsewhere in their system. I think we were kind of focused on the idea that the Cottrell portion of that work, we're expecting to have the ability to accept that type of project periodically, potentially as frequently as every 18 months. And I don't know if
And it's an ICW.
that's the ICW. And I do think we did have the potential for similar mud delays. So I do think we would kind of treat it similarly. It just happens that they had a very good contractor for one and a not good contractor for the other. So I do think we want to talk through what happens in the event that you're doing one of these ICW and you have a similar contractor to Aetna. How would we treat that differently? And again, I guess our focus would be the mud. Any non-beach compatible material that shows up, how do you deal with that? And the other would be the timing.
Yeah, and I think at the very beginning, I went back and watched the tape. We talked about that we were going to trace the sand, and I don't think we did that. And I think the speculation is that the sandbar has grown, Breach Inlet's clogged, Hamlin Creek has received sediment, and we've had some access to the ICW from Hamlin Creek that's been impacted. Now, those are all anecdotal, but they're very visible, and they've all kind of occurred in the last 2 years. If we'd done the trace like we talked about, we'd know that. We'd kind of know that there was a cause and effect versus right now we can say either way, yes, it is, or it's contributing, it's not, we don't know, it's dynamic. We hear that all the time. But, these things can be quantified, and I think there were things that we said we were going to do during this process, sand testing, sand tracking, we've got issues with, scraping versus putting the dunes up. All those are things that, maybe we could have coordinated better, and I think the other part of it is, I'd like to know from the Army Corps, what can we as the city do better? What are things that we need to be working on that worked and that maybe didn't? And then that goes to the whole communication with the whole Front Beach community as to the time, the timing, the 4-month timing went on for 2 years. And, again, things happened and there's reasons for that, but these are the things we ought to probably address.
Did they publish an agenda for this meeting on?
No, not
Okay.
that I have the when, where, why. Is there anything other than that? Yeah, a very rough
pretty-
when, where, why.
It's pretty high level.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so it's
why-
high level, we're gonna have 3 or 4 participants. I'd ask some probing questions to Scott's point, and maybe we just take good notes and do our own postmortem and.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like a
Right, yeah.
postmortem really to me then. Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, this is what the Army calls an after-action review. They do these literally for everything. So this is pretty high level. It just says, why Charleston District wants to hear your thoughts on what worked, what didn't, and what we can do better next time, kind of like you just mentioned. So this is routine business for the Army to do an after-action review.
Yeah. Goal is to record insights for future projects. Yeah, pretty high-level stuff. But I guess I had heard tracking and tracing, and material testing. And maybe it's that, and it didn't really dig into it until the stuff showed up on the beach, but it is clear now that they test the material pretty extensively before it gets pulled out, or before it gets put in, rather, and then before it gets out, but they don't test it, I guess, a third time when it shows up on the beach. And their tracking is their surveys. They're surveying the beach periodically throughout the project, but they're not doing what I think, there are projects of putting tracing material into the dredge so that you can literally find the grains of sand and see where they went. So maybe it's different degrees. They described 1 degree, and maybe it's that people latched onto the idea of a higher level of both of those. But I think they would respond that they did test and track, but it might be a different expectation.
Yeah, with the attendees that are there that are, they weren't necessarily on site during the course of they didn't have
They weren't running it every morning.
Pardon?
They were not running it every morning like some of us.
I don't think I'd be the right person potentially at a meeting like that. There's a thing called too much exposure.
Yeah.
But, preparing for a meeting like that, there is preparation, and it sounds like this is the Army Corps telling us what their view of the world is, with a bit of input from some people that may not have been experiencing it.
Well, I do think they're
It's
not going
good.
to tell.
It's not a bad thing. I'm not-
Yeah, I think
I'm
they've
trying to
told
put it
us,
down.
we want to know your
Yeah.
thoughts on it. And we have,
We'd like to give it to them.
yeah. And I guess the staff at least has very clear thoughts on timing and mud. And they have a process to deal with mud. They put a lot of mud out in Dewey's Inlet, and it was kind of a non-issue because they disposed of it in the way that they generally do with mud. So, yeah.
We can move on. Yeah.
Okay.
One question before we move on. I brought up the Foth Olson report, since it's related to beach projects. Where are we with that? Is that
So they're-
expected soon?
They are meeting, they're having a, kind of a touch point with the beach committee on Thursday morning.
Okay.
I do think their timeline was about 90 days. I think they're about 60 days into the 90 days approximately. My sense is that they're running behind schedule a bit. They did request, they had somebody request a tremendous amount of kind of data from Stephen. Stephen didn't have that data in a publicly, in a format that could be publicly disseminated. So they had some back and forth about, okay, you've asked for 1 million documents. It's going to cost considerable amount to put them into a public format. What could we get you that would be most beneficial? They've kind of worked back and forth, and I think fairly recently, maybe a week or two ago, Foth got the bulk of the information that they wanted to continue. So I think they're a little bit behind, but we'll know more Thursday morning.
Okay.
Okay. Update and discussion on marina parking lot lease amendments.
So as you'll recall, last Tuesday, council authorized a lease amendment to the restaurant group. That lease has been provided to the restaurant, and we are waiting to hear back. I will just say for clarification, they were concerned, they kind of caught wind of the notion that they had 10 days to act on the lease. And that's not the case. The reference to 10 days is they have 10 days to react to the plans for the parking lot construction. And it's not that they have to approve it, it's that they have to give us feedback within 10 days. Otherwise, if they go completely kind of radio silent, then we would just continue after 10 days. But as long as we're in a back and forth on the construction drawings that are to be developed by Klein, that's the 10-day reference. That caught them a little bit off guard and had them concerned. But they now have the lease amendments, and we're waiting to hear back from them.
Are they okay with it?
Yeah, Katie, we can hear you.
Yeah, they said they'll have something this week. And yeah, the 10-day response is after the lease is signed. That's part of this. This is signed.
So Katie, it was a little jumbled, but I think you said that they indicated they would have comments back this week on the lease amendment?
Yes.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, anything else on that one?
No.
All right, update discussion on dredging project.
Dredging project, the city executed a change order with ATM for that project. We had a good meeting with them either end of last week or beginning of this week. End of last week on that project. So next steps for them are to get the bathymetric survey underway. They are also working through kind of the next process for them will be to get the permission from the Army Corps to place the material in the Army Corps site, and we're waiting on them to provide that application back to us. Slightly unrelated, but related to the marina while we have it, they are also going to provide a proposal to us to handle the recoating of the seawall at the marina. It's a little bit of a concern that recoating didn't last as long as we had planned for it to last. When we look at it, it appears that there could be some kind of electrolysis or something taking place with that wall to have shown the signs of corrosion as quickly as it did, given the material that was used. So we're doing a little bit of an analysis on that to ensure that the next time we do it, we get better performance.
How long was that there? How old is it?
The coating, 4 years? 4 years, Katie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and it looks pretty bad.
Was there any sort of
Well,
warranty on?
That's not good.
Not that I'm aware of
I think
that,
it had like a 1-year installation warranty. I think it's
Yeah.
we're past it.
but I think given the materials that were installed, it should have lasted longer than 4 years. So ATM has indicated they feel like it would be a benefit to the city to have kind of a postmortem done by that material provider and the installer to just see what happened. And we think that would be a good exercise for the city, and so we don't just kind of make the same mistake again.
How many linear feet are we talking about here?
I don't have that. It's considerable. It goes all the way around a 5-acre tract. Probably have to approach 1,000 feet.
Is it, paint corrosion or layering corrosion's one thing, but structural's another. Is this basically the paint's peeling bad? We got a couple of
I do think the paint is
bad spots.
And then we have some weeping. There's some, I think the majority of the problem is the corrosion. You know, there's penetrations through that wall, and I don't know if that had something to do with it. Actually, now that I think about it, the bulkhead is only to the corner. Then it goes to timber, doesn't it? Somewhere there it transitions to a wooden bulkhead, which that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, facing, going towards Dewey's,
I think it's just the Dewey side, just the kind of Yacht Harbor side, and then I think the entire intercoastal side, I think that's all timber, isn't it?
I would have to check, I'm not sure.
So maybe it's not 1,000, maybe it's more, maybe it's half that.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of it
Because I was
is-
just looking at the number that we had for budgeting. I mean, per linear foot, that was a big number. I think,
Yeah.
And I was wondering what the linear feet were, and if it was.
Yeah, we can
If
definitely
it's a
provide.
surfacing issue versus a structural, then, you know, we might not have to spend that kind of money, but I
Yeah.
don't know, so.
Yeah. It definitely, so we should have a proposal forthcoming to have them kind of do a deeper dive on that to get more bang for our buck for the recoding of that.
Okay, anything else on that one?
Nope.
Discussion related to IT cost, I'm going to suggest, it looks like, I'm not sure that the schedule got updated with the stuff we talked about. I know there's a bunch of other stuff going on this month, so if it'd be all right with you all, maybe I get together with either like Josh or Sean or you offline and maybe take a look at this.
Yep.
And figure out a way to kind of structure it as opposed to wasting, or not wasting, but spending time here.
Yeah.
On it. If you're
Okay.
all right with that.
Yep, that'd be great.
Any new business? I think we're none. Miscellaneous business, none. If there be no further business. or-
Can we talk about next month's date real
Sure.
quickly? I'm gonna be away. I'll be out of country. I could call in, but probably wouldn't be necessary if you're gonna have a quorum here. I notice we don't have a date listed, but that would be, what, the 2nd?
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, I'll be out of country, so, I mean, if you all are gonna carry on, that's fine. You'd have
It's
a
up to you.
quorum.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Katie, are you good for the second?
I am, yes.
Okay,
I have a doctor's appointment at 11, but that should be fine.
okay. So
Yeah.
Rusty, we'll send you the link we'll give you the information to join remotely if you choose to, but
Okay.
it sounds like we'll have a quorum otherwise.
Okay, good. I'll just let you know, and I'll do what I'm supposed to do and notify Nicole
Yeah.
and the chair.
Very good.
all right. No further business?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Cool.
Thank you all.